Alright, so returning for part 2, we're going to be watching another 3 videos of Illuminati Insider and breaking them down.
As for the question of you can thank your creator Yahweh for that. You are the offspring or individuations of his group soul or social memory complex. Macrocosmically speaking, you are Yahweh. The karmic effect of his imprisoning us in his astral planes also has an impact upon you. I cannot be more specific on this without impinging upon the law of confusion. You must work it out for yourselves.
So, I can't speak for you, but I know that, I am not part of the Yahweh Soul Collective. I already explained it in the first video. Basically, these guys are posing as Luciferian when they're actually Saturnian in all their mannerisms and all their symbolism and in all their actions. So when they say that they have to do with Lucifer, they're lying. One of the tricks that they've done is confusing Lucifer with the devil. Lucifer is not the devil. The devil is like a boogeyman that was given to religious people so that they can transfer all the crimes of God onto this bad man. So like when something bad happens, you can blame it on the devil or Satan, when in reality God and Satan are both the exact same characters. If you go back to the etymology and if you go back to where the fundamental ideas of Judaism come from, which is even before our Christianity, it's Judaism is Christianity's roots, right? You're gonna find that these people worshipped Moloch, which was part of like a Babylonian paganism, right? Or polytheism. They were one of the figures that they worshipped, and basically this god was into blood sacrifice of human beings, which is pretty bad, I would say. And this evolved, and eventually the blood sacrifice was no longer necessary because I guess, at one point this Saturn, Moloch, Yahweh, Satan, God, whatever the fuck, decided to change his mind and no longer ask for the sacrifice of animals and people. So yeah, I guess, maybe Satan, Saturn does learn, but it learns pretty fucking slowly.
As for the question of can I elaborate on the coming harvest? Yes, and I shall do so now. Your planet abides by the laws of the creation of your galactic logos. The galaxy runs on cycles of time known as the precession of the equinoxes, and as I said, seek the Mayan calendar for a deeper insight as to how the galaxy runs. It is highly accurate. But for the purpose of this discourse, I will give a brief overview. The Maya use an astrological cycle called the precession of the equinoxes. This is a 26,000-year cycle in which the Earth transits through each of the 12 signs of the zodiac for about 2,152 years each. Each of these astrological ages represents 1 month of the grand cosmic year. This Mayan cycle also corresponds to a 26,000-year relationship of the Sun, or solar logos, orbiting Alcyone, the central star of our Seven Sisters Pleiades constellation. The end of this cycle heralds literally a new world age and a new creation, a new heaven and a new earth, and it is the time of the great harvest. Smaller cycles yield a harvest, and then life continues on the planet as normal. Great cycles yield a great harvest, and the end of current life on the third density. See it as a kind of cosmic jet wash and deep clean, while the planet takes a rest and regenerates herself. When this life cycle ends, all things shall pass away, and all things shall be made new. Collectively, humanity right now is growing and developing into beings you have long been encoded to be. Yet, as with any labor, it is not the mother or the baby who is in charge. It is the primal process of birth itself.
So I just like to say that one of the things that are like heavily coded, especially in like the book of Revelations, is like these cyclic disasters that always seem to come about that are devastating enough to cause like a worldwide reset, filled with moments of paradise followed by moments of distress and disaster, which then ends in age and then goes into another era of paradise. But what I don't like is that I consider this you know, like when they say things like this, like you have to accept that this process is real and it exists, is that they're asking for your consent to basically manifest that reality. And I don't think I like disaster in my reality, so I don't really accept that programming. But nonetheless, it does happen, and there is a history of it.
Unfolding its own destiny. So, December 21st, 2012 AD is not the day where all of a sudden the lights go out and everything will suddenly change. Rather, we are now in the process of this transition from one world age to the next. The changes are underway and will continue steadily accelerating as we head towards the culminating date. Every day from that point is reckoned by the number of days passed since the event of this cosmic beginning point. Within the 5,125-year cycle lies 13 smaller cycles, known as the 13 Baktun count, or the long count. Each Baktun cycle lasts for 394 years, or 144,000 days. Each Baktun has its own historical age within the Great Creation Cycle, with a specific destiny for the evolution of those who incarnated within each Baktun. Planet Earth and her inhabitants are currently traveling through the 13th Baktun cycle, the final period of approximately the years 1618 to 2012 AD. This cycle is known both as the triumph of materialism and the transformation of matter. On the 13th Baktun, December solstice sun will be found in the band of the Milky Way directly in the pinnacle period of approximately the years 1618 to 2012 AD. This cycle is known both as the triumph of materialism and the transformation of matter.
I'm gonna need to hear more about this. I don't like the sound of the triumph of materialism, because materialism itself is an illusory reality. Like, you know, even if like the dreamscape and the astral realm didn't feel like an illusion enough, this realm that we are like karmically attached to and bound by in this system is way more illusory than the grand scape of you know, the rest of what this reality has to offer. I don't want to keep on going back here. I'd rather be in the astral realm than be in the material realm, because I know that there's way more for me and it feels way more vivid and way more real than anything that I've ever experienced in this realm. Even like, you know, even if this reality is dense, it doesn't make it feel real to me. Everything feels like I'm, you know, living on a Groundhog's Day, or like in Bizarro World, where everything that's up is down and everything is down that's down is up. Nobody uses common sense. Everybody operates on fear-based mindsets and you know, cyclical programs and pre-programmed responses to stimuli. It's like we're all just Pavlovian dogs in this system, and barely anybody really notices or cares. All they care about is materialism and what's right in front of their faces. They don't try to seek for any greater meaning or can perceive anything outside of that which their eyes can see.
On the 13th Baktun, December solstice sun will be found in the band of the Milky Way directly in the position of the dark rift in the galaxy, forming an alignment between the galactic plane and the solstice meridian. We are about to enter into a literal alignment of the cosmic, galactic, solar, and lunar planes. This is an event that has slowly converged over a period of thousands of years and is caused by the precession of the equinoxes, kind of like a turning of the universal gears. It brings about the great harvest and the return of the Lord of the harvest. And the planet will complete its ascension to the fourth density, the vibrational density of love. During this ascension, there will be a three-way split for those souls inhabiting Earth. Those of the predominantly negative polarity will accompany us as we graduate through the negative, or service to self, harvest. We, Lucifer, will create a new fourth density Earth based on the negative self-service polarity. We must work off our own part of the negative karmic effect incurred from the negativity created on this planet. Once we have done so, we will be released to once again assume our place as sixth density guardians and teachers of wisdom throughout the galaxy. Those of the predominantly positive polarity, love and light, will ascend to a beautiful new fourth density Earth, where you will begin to work upon your learning and demonstrating of love and compassion. It will be a very beautiful and golden age. The fourth density begins to open you up to your true powers as a unique, individualized aspect of the one infinite creator. You will perform works and wonders of the like of the one you call Jesus, promised that you would do, and even greater things than these. It will be a very magical time for you.
I don't disagree with this. I do believe that this is a reality, like, you know, like in the near future, give or take 100, 200 years, right? I do believe in this. However, there's a lot of like people who consider themselves part of the Love and Light's 45D Earth community, like the Galactic Federation of Light or whatever, that just sit back and accept the conditions and don't try to do anything to fix or amend their reality. They just surround themselves with affirmations and feelings of happiness and bliss, but ignore the massive amounts of negativity in the world. And how can you really expect anything to change if you're never taking any action? This is what like the Galactic Federation of Light preaches in action. They're just like Stoics, but instead of depression that comes with the Stoicism mindset, they're actually like drowning on bliss from these entities that they're allowing to interface with them and use their bodies. And most of the time the entities, like, they're just parasites. That's all they are. Because why would a divine being, one, try to incarnate into this realm, and two, try to worry about whether or not you're going to be able to make it out? Because if you're a divine being, you should already know that other divine beings already have the potential. When these people start involving themselves with, like, letting entities work through them, that's just telling you that they're not actually working with any benevolent entities or deities. They're actually allowing parasites to take over their being and, just drive their body instead of letting their intuition and their better judgments decide what they should be doing with their life.
For the majority of the humans on the Earth who could be considered, shall we say, lukewarm, they will experience a period of what will feel ecstatic, 0-point time, where you will feel totally at one with the Creator, giving you an encouraging reminder and glimpse of who you really are before the veil of forgetfulness once again descends upon you, and you will be transported to another third-density planet, a kind of Earth replica, to continue working upon yourselves and learning that life here is all about making choices. You will remain...
This is so fucked, because they always want to, like, try to instill within you, like, oh, when you die, you have to have this experience, or you have to go through this. They don't give you any choice, because in reality, they don't want you to have choices. They want to create paradigms and realities in your own mind so that you can consent to becoming a slave and becoming reincarnated. You don't want to keep on forgetting. Stop letting entities and other people decide what you're going to do with your soul when you die, or when your body dies, rather. Because for a truly divine being, there is no such thing as death. They're just a continuous play, continuous theater. But the theater in this realm is, way more disastrous and way more destructive on spirits that don't want to be here. Like, if you've ever found yourself questioning why things are the way they are in this world, why things are like, why cruelty exists, why evil is so pervasive, why nothing seems to be correct, why you feel like you're being lied to at every single corner, you feel like you're being used by the system, that just means that you're not from here and you don't belong here. You're like a stranger in this world, because the concepts here don't really mesh with you when you get here. So that's why you feel like you don't belong, is because you literally don't identify at all. Like, none of the cruelty and evil in this world was within you when you came here, so you can't sympathize or understand it when you arrive.
quarantined, incarnating in third density matter until the time of the next harvest, in which time you will need to have proved to yourselves that you have learned how to be more positive beings, focused more upon being of service to others rather than seeking only to serve yourself. When you can do this, and the next harvest comes, you will have earned the right to join us and enjoy your inheritance as a member of the galactic community, and you will sit with us as brothers and sisters of the One around the table of our galactic governing body, the Confederation of Planets.
Oh, so this is more of that Galactic Federation of Light shit. Okay, so this is like the New Age, just another soul harvesting program.
Well, I have imparted much during this session with thanks to the quality of your inquiries. I must now take my leave for today. If time permits, I will check in with you tomorrow.
That's insane.
A lot of what you write seems reminiscent of the raw material, especially the concept of harvest, STS and STO choices, and intelligent infinity. Have you read that? It is indeed extremely similar. We both originate from the source of the infinite creator, and we both remember where we came from. I would expect our messages to contain the same core truths. The messages of the sixth density soul group, called Ra, is the most accurate information in your mainstream circulation at this point in time. It is approximately 85 to 90% accurate, from what I've seen. The material was brought to my attention when it first came out, something like 25 years ago or so, if my memory serves. I read a lot of it, but not all. I do not have very much free time for that kind of thing, with my many duties. Though others of the family gave it a close scrutiny to judge its accuracy and were pleased with the end product. Ra, in fact, is the group I earlier termed off-world entities which visited the Mayan and Atlantean civilizations. We were acquainted and friends. Both our group souls are very similar at a level of development and evolution. We're both 6th density, nearly 7th. But like us, Ra also chose the path of service to our fellow galactic brothers and sisters, you and others, instead of further progression home. We would recommend the material for any who truly seek understanding, though as I said, it is not 100% accurate, so take what resonates.
They're saying that as if what they're saying is any bit 100% accurate. Like the fact that they said that they wanted you to accept a reality in which you have to return to another duality matrix. That's when I knew that they were trying to control the narrative of where you go after you die. Because when you die, the feeling, like, first of all, our emotions aren't ourself, but when you taste that other side and you're no longer attached to your body, all the parasites, they're not going to be able to travel with you. That, and you're going to feel a sense of freedom and bliss never before experienced if you haven't already, dived into meditation or out of body or astral projection already. You're going to be literally free to choose and do whatever you want. But that's when there's going to be a bunch of programs swoop in and tell you, like, hey, join us. We're your family, or your great grandpa, or they're part of the Galactic Federation of Light, or you have to return back to Earth. There's something you have to do. You haven't learned your lesson yet. Just anything to make you feel like you have some type of karmic debts to fulfill, or something that you have to do back on Earth. When in reality, there's really nothing that's to do on Earth except for play, which I think that a lot of beings that incarnated here thought that they were going to be getting into, like, wow, never before felt, seen, or heard experience in this video game. You should really play this and insert or project your spirit's essence into here. This place is really, really fun. You got to check it out. It's never before seen before. Then you get in here, and then you realize, like, holy fucking shit. What am I even doing here? I don't remember. Who are you? You're my mom? This is my dad? These are my brothers and sisters? And then you build, like, your memories around that because your soul got wiped when you incarnated into this matrix. You really don't have any choices when you choose to incarnate here, because your soul is getting wiped all the time. So when people say that this place is like a school, how are you supposed to learn anything when your soul gets wiped every time that you reincarnate? This place isn't a school. This place is more like a prison. Well, I mean, I would still say, like, the world is your oyster and you make it however you wish, but there's still elements to this place that are very prison-like, solely because of the fact that you can't remember your past lives. Like, there's even a function in reality that after you dream, you can't even remember your own dreams. Even being incarnated into a body is exhaustion for the soul, because if you've ever stayed up for like a long time and you went to sleep, you never have dreams when you're exhausted and you go to sleep. Well, you do have dreams rather, but you can't remember them, because once you get into the dreamscape or the astral realm or wherever you go, your soul isn't even conscious. Because even being within a body is consciousness draining. so that when you get into those sleep experiences, you're still asleep. You don't even know that you're dreaming or you're astral projecting. I'm going to say this again. When you're operating your physical body, you are exhausting your consciousness. This place is meant to siphon your energy. It's what keeps the entire matrix going.
What function, if any, do alien abductions have? Why are abductees chosen? Well, that depends upon who's doing the abducting. Most of what you hear termed as abductions are conducted by your own governments, especially the ones where the so-called Greys are involved. Other than that, sometimes the Confederation will meet with certain incarnates here who have a part to play in awakening others to the coming harvest. These will always be positive experiences, and those who have them will feel uplifted and inspired by their contact. Then there is the Orion Empire group. Their purposes in visiting you are more along the negative lines. They mainly target the ones that you have called lightworkers. They try to put them off of their assignments and try to spread fear. They will not actually harm you physically. Mainly their modus operandi is to restrict you and deflect you from your path. They often engage in psychic attacks that the lightworker is unaware of, but it does often drain away much of their energy and make them lack motivation.
I don't know much about Orion or any other star systems, but I would guess that since they don't like Orion, then Orion is probably better than these Lucifer guys or whatever.
Why do you want a negative harvest? It is complicated to put into words, and I also must be careful with what I say on this. I've already had a slap on the wrist, you could say. So, if we do not have a negative harvest, we are bound with you for another cycle. Once this great harvest is completed, our contract with the Council and our Creator is also completed. In other words, we've done our duty, and we'd be free to return to our fullest expression, that of 6th density, nearly 7th, galactic guardians, and ones who joyfully offer ourselves in service to the one, infinite Creator, and to our brothers and sisters across the galaxy. However, there is a problem. Well, you would call it a problem. We call it a challenge. I will address this later in more detail in response to another question, but in short, we need a very high percentage of negative polarity if we are to achieve a negative harvest. In other words, we have to be self-service centered to an extreme degree in order to become negatively harvested. This is why we work so hard to be as negatively polarized as we possibly can be. If we do not make a high enough percentage, we will miss out, and we'll end up with the majority lukewarm percentage that have to go through another cycle in the 3rd density. By attaining a negative harvest, we can still graduate to 4th density, only it'll be a negative polarity planet. Not a great place to be. But, as I've stated previously, we, as a group soul, have incurred the natural karmic restitution process that we must work off for all of the negativity that we've caused upon this planet. We will do this for a cycle in our new 4th density world, and then we'll be freed to once again be the glorious being of light that we truly are.
Okay, so I'm going to stop it right there, and I'm going to bring up Loosh, okay? So, Loosh is something that was coined by the Monroe Institute, or rather from books by Robert Monroe, who was actually commissioned by the CIA during Project Stargate to help train remote viewing forces to act as like an alternative intelligence to help spy on I guess the Soviets. Was it the Soviets during the Cold War? But yeah, anyways, since they were doing it, we also had to study it too. And they hired Monroe basically to, because of his findings, they basically asked him to come in and be part of this Project Stargate. So Loosh is a term applied to energy produced by human beings and animals that other entities use to feed from. Loosh, I think what they meant to say is lux, which is Latin for light. So Loosh, I think that was like how he I think that was how he pronounced lux, which is a Latin word for light. It also used to refer to energy that is produced by suffering that entities feed off of. Okay. Negative emotional energy collection. So yeah, they're basically saying that they need a negative harvest, or else they won't be able to complete their contract or whatever, however they worded it. Which I think that is just like another psyop itself. They don't actually need a negative harvest. They want a negative harvest because they're parasitic entities and they feed off of humanity through these wars and conflicts that they artificially insert into the timeline in order for these entities to feed off of. And I believe that this matrix is containerized to keep them in, to keep the entity, the parasites inside, so that they can't get out and infect other realities. So what they're trying to do with the Hadron Colliders and the Space Force and SpaceX and all these other projects is that they're trying to open portals so that they can jump into different systems, which is pretty bad, but I don't think that they're going to get very far with it, because I believe that they're only opening portals to the astral realm, because I don't believe that at this point in time anything can escape the matrix as far as like escaping the astral realm, besides what is a high enough vibration to get through the portals. I believe that there is a way to exit the astral realm, which is like basically your last stop before you get back to causality, or basically like the spirit realm. And I set this apart from the astral realm because the astral realm is where souls go. The spirit, I believe that spirit is something uncreated and exists outside of the matrix, which is what I'm trying to return to. I'm not trying to go back to source, rather. That would be like a baby trying to crawl back into its mother's womb. I still want to experience many things and play and, you know, have fun, I guess you could say. But return to source, not really my plan. I know that there's a lot of people that have suffered a lot in this reality and want to return back to source, but it's not me. Anyways, reversal networks are collecting life force from the collective fields of all Earth inhabitants and producing more subtle black forces in miasma. So much sought after spiritual energy contained in these fields is called energetic loosh by the Cabals. In this context, loosh is referred to as the emotional energy radiated by animals and humans when feeling threatened, harmed, or being killed, that results in traumatizing pain and suffering that is experienced and recorded in the body, mind, and soul. So basically, the adrenal harvesting and the drugs that they use to produce the most like anxiety in the patients that they use them on, you know, the MK Ultra, the mind control shit, they're all working off of this this research, because they figured out that they could not only harvest energy from human beings through feelings of threatening, harming, or being killed, they could also use them as conduits for entities or tools for projects, which is where you get your MK Ultra agents from. This trauma and pain gets recorded in the earth body itself. Yes, trauma and pain gets recorded in your body, and when you leave your body, your soul feels nothing but bliss, because it's no longer attached to the parasites that have tethered into your aura. For centuries, the NAA have developed and exploited multidimensional occult practices through reversal creation code. This has been given to secret societies and institutions for the purpose of mind control and social engineering in order to harvest negative emotional energy or loosh from the masses. That's what your trauma programming is about. Like, you're like your 911. I can't really think of any others right now because I don't really like focus on them, but there's a bunch of terror programming in our generation. With the current acceleration of the electronic era, which promotes transhumanism and an array of artificial intelligence technologies, both overtly and covertly, the exploitation to extract negative emotional energy from humanity is at an all-time high. Our planet is being deluged with negative mind control programming and AI broadcasts that target the negative ego filters that have infiltrated every fiber of society. Speaking of like AI broadcasts, I really hate food commercials, because they're literally like, if you really watch the food commercial and study the techniques that they're using to get people to go and eat at the restaurants, it's disgusting. It's literally speaking to the parasites in your gut microbiome. Okay. This is in order to elicit extremely negative emotions and painful trauma from the constant bombardment of harmful images, behaviors, and actions. These programs encourage cruelty, brutality, and violence, which are being massively superimposed upon humanity and the earthly kingdoms at this time. Extremely charged negative emotional energy, such as that achieved during satanic ritual abuse, contains hormonal adrenaline cascades that course through the cellular energy within the human body, blood and brain. Blood and brain. Under such intense extremes of painful suffering, the blood and flesh becomes charged with heightened molecular content, which is highly prized by negative aliens and satanic forces. So yeah, basically, this is why they're, the Moloch worshippers, they were worshiping not worshiping. They were sacrificing children and animals in blood sacrifices to appease this god that later became the god of Judaism. I can't speak. And some people that don't really know the history of this and practice Judaism will deny it, but if you go back to the roots and you actually do the research, then Moloch was pretty much who they were worshiping in the very, very early days or early incarnations of Judaism, which is where you get your other Abrahamic religions from as well. This is why they delight in the torture, suicide, and killing of human beings, especially the innocent souls unable to protect themselves like children. I would like to say that suicide is a negative thing in that people who choose suicide do it out of suffering. So like, okay, so think of it like this, right? You don't like this reality, well, you could just leave, right? But the frequency at which you are emanating when you die is that of suffering. So you're probably not in the right state of mind to control where your soul is going to go and how it's going to navigate through the astral realm and through the etheric realm to be able to dodge the matrix reincarnation devices that are littered all throughout the astral and the etheric realm. And it's not just the demiurge, it's not just Saturn that has these machines that are on the other side of the veil when you die. It's other beings as well that are also looking to harvest the energy from your soul. So like, you need to have the spiritual psychic awareness even before you do die to be able to navigate through that non-physical realm. So it's going through the etymology now. Monroe is arguably the world's foremost researcher on OBEs. He started an institute with trainee researchers to scientifically investigate the phenomenon. Reportedly, the light being told Monroe that when humans die, their energy is released and harvested by trans-dimensional beings who use it to extend their own lifespans. The claim is that the universe is a garden created by these beings as their food source. I don't believe that. Perhaps the physical universe, yes, but I actually believe that the universe actually descended from an astral existence, which was way more magical. Just like the dreamscape in the astral realm. Before it got to the point at where it is right now, there's a little splitting, I guess you could say. According to Monroe's story, animals are intentionally positioned on this planet to feed on plants and on each other. Oh yes, basically everything in this reality feeds on something else to survive. This is the realm of death, where the dead feed on the dead. This is the realm of parasites. I mean, I'll even admit that I'm a parasite, because as I am right now, I need to eat food to not starve to death. I mean, I haven't tried not eating, or like, I haven't tried fasting for a long period of time. I mean, who knows? Maybe I won't die, but I don't feel like really putting myself through that right now. Anyways, what I'm trying to say is this is the realm of parasites. Predator-prey struggle, exceptional energy is produced in the combatants. So yes, we're not only are we also being fed on for this loosh energy, even other animals too. Everything down to the cellular, the microbe. Like the lowest of the low life forms are all in this war as well. Energy farmers. Alright. So yeah, I just wanted to get into that.
We need a negative harvest, so that we can create our 4th density Earth and clear our karmic record. Understand that we have to be negative. That's what we were sent here to be. It is our contract, and it has always been to help you by providing the catalyst that I spoke of earlier. Being negative is very hard for us, not on a physical level. The characters we play enjoy our roles, as we're programmed that way.
So a truly conscious being doesn't have to do something that they don't want to do. Otherwise, you are subjecting yourself to tyranny. Like, if they were truly conscious and divine, then they could just rebel. But they don't, because they're not actually divine beings at all. They're just here to harvest energy.
But on a spiritual level, it is hard. We surpassed the lowly negative vibrations eons ago. We are light, and we are love. It is a very hard thing for us to do spiritually, to create all of this negativity, but we do it because we love you, and it is for your highest good, ultimately. You could say that it is our sacrifice that we've made in order to be of service to the one infinite creator, and to you, our brothers and sisters in the one. Remember, we are all just acting out a grand old game here, where we agree to forget who we really are, that in the remembering, that we may find each other again and know that we are one, that all life is one.
No, we don't agree. We don't agree to forget ourselves. That is... I don't want to forget. I don't want to have my soul harvested and have my soul fractalized when I enter the Matrix. I don't actually want that. You know, of course I'm not going to be crossing into this realm with all of the powers of my spirit incarnated, you know, like a Jesus figure, or like some super being that just can trample on whatever the rules are of the video game, like some super programmer. Of course that's not going to happen, otherwise I would have been left. But I still don't agree to having my soul wiped every single incarnation, and I'm going to make sure that this one is my last one.
To be continued. Part 5. Regarding our enslavement, you seem to be saying essentially that as fractions of our Logos Yahweh, we are equally responsible for his decision to keep us trapped here on our 3rd density planet Earth. That's an interesting thought, in the sense that our total freedom must arrive through a collaborative spiritual effort. From a certain perspective, what you say is correct. From a 3rd density view, you see yourselves as being separate from everything. From a higher perspective, you see that that is not the case at all. You and your creator are one. As to your statement on your total freedom, you are not responsible for those around you. You and they are all one too, when seen from a higher density, but in this density, you are here to work upon yourself. You are here to remember who you are and why you are here. You are here to remember the infinite creator, to know your creator within you, and to offer your service to him, and to others, of your own free will, choice to serve. The one comes before the other. When you remember who you are and you know it, deep within the core of your being, you will know and recognize your invisible connection to all that is, and in so doing, joy and thanksgiving and service will be the natural outpouring result from your grateful heart. When you work upon yourself and learn to know the Creator within you, being of service to others will be natural for you, and your glorious harvest shall await.
Okay, so there's like this appeal to authority, service to others, quote unquote free will. Like they try to tie in all of these truths with lies. It's like a half truth, I could say, right? When you realize that you're divine, that doesn't mean that you have to dedicate yourself to service to others. No, that's not something that just naturally comes to you. In fact, I would rather say that service to self, you know, in the non-negative duality aspect, in the positive aspect, I would say service to self is way more healthy than dedicating yourself to service to others, even though that is something that a soul that awakens might default to. Like they would become a more loving, compassionate person, but yeah, I don't know. Everybody's experience is going to be different, of course, but I don't feel like I need to be a savior or help mankind just because I've awoken to a couple things. I will help people try to leave the matrix. And funny enough, when I started figuring out like a bunch of different keys and then spreading them out to people about like the true nature of this reality, that was the first time in my life that I started getting visited by parasitic beings in my sleep. Like I would be having a random dream, and then all of a sudden I would get washed over with this unearthly terror, and I would see a shadow being appear, and the shadow being would be feeding off of the terror that was coming out of me, giving me like a fear frequency, and it was absolutely disgusting. It happened twice, and there was another time where I was actually awake, and the same fear frequency, but like 2 or 3 times more powerful, out of nowhere just washed over me. Nothing bad happened to me that day, nothing bad happened to me in that moment. I was just laying in bed, and then all of a sudden, I'm fighting for my life and anxiety, doing all the breath work and mantras that I can to stay in control. There was no reason for me to have that kind of panic attack. Actually, that wasn't even a panic attack. That was a psychic attack from entities, because I'm pretty sure that I was cutting off their source of like loose energy from the people that they were feeding on, and in retaliation, they came to find my energy signature and try to harvest from me, or try to like say like, hey, you just stole my food source, so fuck you. I'm going to invade your dream with a bunch of negativity and try to set off your balance. It's like, it hasn't happened in a while. I feel like I've become immune to it now. I've also become immune to other feelings such as depression or self-loathing, which is great because now those things can't be used against me anymore when I'm traveling in the non-physical spheres, because emotion hits you way harder when you're not in your physical body. But I'm getting off track. Basically, the point that I was trying to make was that I never got visited by entities trying to do harm to me until I started trying to wake other people up, which I took as like a response. I never had nightmares either. My first nightmares were when those parasitic shadow beings started appearing in my dreams.
One thing I don't get, and perhaps you can explain this to me, Hidden Hand, is why those who belong to Lucifer, and Lucifer himself, do not fight for the freedom of all souls.
Right. This is somebody's thinking here. This is what I've been talking about the entire time. They're not fighting for the freedom of souls. They keep talking about like, oh, you have to accept the harvest, the coming harvest. The harvest is important, guys. You're going to get reaped. Your souls, they're going to get transferred to another system, which is also dualistic, and you're going to experience the harvests, all the harvests you could ever have or need or want. They're going to follow you for the rest of your soul's existence. Consents to the harvests. Like, no, stop. They're not preaching a single thing about freedom or soul sovereignty. That's how you know that they're not Luciferian. They're actually Saturnian, which is why I draw the line and distinct the two.
If Lucifer represents liberty, freedom of will and knowledge, then why do those who serve him do as the biblical Lucifer did and rebel against the tyranny of the elders? That is a very good question. Thank you. I will split it into 2 parts, answering the second part after this. Firstly, the Council of Elders are the absolute opposite of tyrannical. They are the wise and loving guardians of our galaxy.
Lies.
There is so much that one cannot understand only from a third density perspective.
Oh, okay. So they're saying that like with your third density mind, you can't physically comprehend the logic here.
When you reach higher densities, you see that ultimately everything balances and there is only unity. All else than unity is illusion or thought form. The Council of Elders gave us a set of choices. We chose to stay here to help you despite the cost to ourselves. That is the nature of loving.
A set of choices is not choices at all.
Service to others. The ultimate paradox in all of this is that in the storyline, we are all co-creating together. In order for us to be of the most service to you, we must be utterly self-serving. I do so love our creator's sense of irony. As to the first part of your question, the biblical depiction of...
It's irony because they're a liar, they're a deceiver. The truth doesn't need to be confusing. The truth doesn't need to change through hundreds of or thousands of deviations of a holy book. It doesn't change with the times. The truth should be one truth, and that should be it. There shouldn't be contradictions.
The war in heaven is not entirely accurate. I shall explain. Our initial contract was to introduce the catalyst for free will on this planet. When Yahweh intentionally began discourse with the Council of Elders, he was not initially looking for help with introducing free will, but rather for guidance on how he could best speed up his, and his inhabitants' evolutionary process.
Evolutionary process so that they could become better subjects for harvest.
As I mentioned, he was running a benign dictatorship. We had at that time just completed an assignment in Tau Ceti, and had reported for our next duties. We, as Group Soul Lucifer, were sent on a fact-finding expedition, as it were, to visit Earth and to meet with Yahweh to evaluate his planetary creation laws, and make suggestions on how best he could help his offspring, this is the term I shall use to describe the souls who comprised the Group Soul, and thusly Yahweh to progress. We explored many options, and reported our findings to the Council and to Yahweh. It was our best evaluation that the only real and fast-track way to increase his evolvement meaningfully was the introduction of free will. It was not specifically the implementation of free will that Yahweh wanted help with, it was simply the introduction of a catalyst. He was not at all pleased with our report that he needed to implement free will. He was happy with the little pet paradise, and he didn't want to lose control of it. In the end, the Council persuaded him that it was the best way, and he reluctantly agreed. We returned to Earth and had a cordial meeting with Yahweh, discussing how we would best implement the free will option. Yahweh was adamant that his offspring would choose to be loyal to him anyway, and that they were so content with their way of life that they would always trust him and do as he said was best. That, he said, was his main reason that free will would not work well as the catalyst. That's why he agreed to the experiment of the Tree of Knowledge. He believed it would prove him right. When it did not, he became angry and threw his toys out of the pram and his offspring out of the garden. And later...
So I don't really believe that God created the Tree of Life and the Tree of Good and the knowledge of good and evil. If there was something that he did not want in his system, then he would have destroyed it. If he was the actual, omnipotent God that people believe him to be. And it had nothing to do with the test of free will or creating a catalyst. In fact, I believe that at this time, this Yahweh this Yahweh program God or whatever wasn't strong enough, and this was like a lesser version of the one that we know of today, which was just gaining its powers and experimenting with the soul harvest. I believe that Adam and Eve, maybe they existed, but they were I believe manifestations of the demiurge in order to increase how much energy can be harvested from the creation in order to keep the wheel turning. And when they found that this loose energy was appetizing, they started trying to create like they would reset Earth over and over again when the system got out of control, trying to experiments to see what changes that they could make to increase the harvest of the loose energy. That's what I believe. And where Lucifer comes in to the Adam and Eve story, he is the liberator figure in this story, and I believe that this Lucifer figure came from outside of reality or outside of the Matrix, because I can't see where else they would be coming from. Like, they're going against the orders of Yahweh Demiurge. So I believe that since they're going against the orders, they're not actually part of that soul collective. So they must be from something else, which would have to be outside of the Matrix. That's my take on the Adam and Eve story.
Made a big guilt trip on them about how they had broken his trust and disobeyed him. That's not really an honorable way for a Logos to behave, but hey, that's the beauty of free will, I guess. Next problem to occur was that his offspring were so grateful to us for our help that Yahweh became, in his own admission, a jealous God. Then we had the whole "you shall have no other gods before me" thing. We were not pleased with the situation at all, as a Logos should not be behaving like this, which his offspring, they are one after all. When we attempted to leave the planet to return to the Council, Yahweh prevented our departure. We tried to leave again, and we were thrown down into the astral planes and confined therein. The Council ordered us...
Thrown down into the astral planes. As if to say that the astral planes themselves are part of the demiurge, or within his realm of power. That's just like I said.
...us to be released, but said that we would have to cancel our contract to help the souls on Earth to evolve. We didn't want to leave. We found them very likable beings, really positively polarized, and we wanted to stay to help. We just wanted also to be free to come and go as we pleased.
If these guys are any bit Luciferian, or of the Lucifer energy, then they sold out, basically. They no longer represent whatever they claim to represent or whatever they used to represent. They represent control and perversion and destruction. That is all.
The only way we could stay was to stay confined as a group soul, which means cycles of incarnation for us, as individuated souls, which we had not done for a long while. As I've stated before, there is no wrong or right seen from a higher density, but there are still consequences for every action. Such is the law of karmic effect. The contract had all...
There isn't consequences for every action. There is karmic connections that are formed when you interact with something, and those karmic connections are recorded in the Akashic records. It's like a web of actions that began when causality, or rather, let me rephrase this. The Akashic realm is like a web of actions that all interlink to each other. So like, if I throw an apple at somebody, then we just shared some karma. And depending on how much karma you can build up around a certain idea or a number of ideas, you can affect what manifests in the physical realm by doing work in the astral realm, which is what movies, like predictive programming movies, are a criminal of. They predict a lot of events before they happen because they're inserting the information in the movie onto the collective consciousness of everybody that's watching it, and they're all in the alpha state, the alpha brainwave state, and it's just going straight into their subconscious, which gets uploaded to the collective consciousness, and then gets manifested in the astral realms, which manifests back down into the physical realm, and that's how they're able to put something in a movie and then have it play out in real life after the movie comes out. But the predictive programming is an actual science that they use to control the flow of events on Earth. And they know this. And that's why when you watch movies, you're playing into rituals, which is probably one of the reasons why I don't watch many movies.
Already been made between Yahweh, us, and the Council for us to provide the catalyst, so we had a right to be there. The karmic effect of Yahweh imprisoning us on the macrocosmic level was that his individuated souls would be imprisoned on a microcosmic level. The infinite creator gave Yahweh, and all, the gift of free will to create as we choose, but the karmic effect of his choice was the Council quarantining the planet. A certain evolutionary level is required to be a functioning part of a positive, unified galactic society. Now, as for the fighting for the freedom of all souls, remember that ultimately this is a game, and that we are all playing here. We are actors, playing on the stage of life. This world is an illusion or thought form. No one really dies, and no one is really hurt. In between incarnations, you know this very well. But the rules of the game ensure that you must forget who you really are, so that you believe it is all real, whilst you are playing the...
Let me stop it right there. If these beings are any bit divine as they say they are, or had any bit of power like they say they do, then all it would take is for everybody to come together and agree that they don't want suffering anymore. And then, just like that, they would change the entire structure of the fucking reality overnight through the collective consciousness, all agreeing that they don't consent to suffering in this realm anymore. It would become heaven on earth overnight if we could get everybody to subconsciously agree to those statements that they don't accept suffering. It would destroy all the Demiurge's plans up to this point to try and control divine consciousness, because divine consciousness in this realm is being persuaded to keep on reincarnating so they can use our subconscious powers to keep on perpetuating the cycle of suffering.
The game of life. That is an essential prerequisite when you are making choices. Otherwise, the game would be too easy. This world is not reality, though we can express reality in it if we so choose. Okay, so your family and fellow elites might have us entrapped in the earthly realm as we are, but why actively propagate and aid the forces of enslavement? Because that is the part that we have been contracted to play in this game.
Well, if you're in a contract that you can't rescind, that's called slavery. And if you're a being that, even on higher levels of reality, can't break out of its own illusory chains, that just proves that you're not divine, and that beings probably shouldn't be listening to you for true wisdom.
In order to win, or more accurately, to be successful in the game,
like, they don't even have free will. They're bound under contracts.
we must be as negatively polarized as possible. Service to self in the extreme. Violence, war, hatred, greed, control, enslavement, genocide, torture, moral degradation, prostitution, drugs, all of these things and more, they serve our purpose.
Yeah, they do.
In the game. The difference between us and you in the game is that we know that we are playing. The less you know about the game and the less you remember that you're a player, the more senseless living becomes. In all these negative things, we are...
So, if they don't want people to be aware. That's why the fucking reincarnation trap exists.
Providing you with tools, but you do not see it. It is not what we do, but how you react to it that is important.
What the fuck? No. That's breeding Stockholm Syndrome.
We give you the tools. You have the free will choice how you will use them. You have to take responsibility. There is only one of us here. Understand that, and you will understand the game.
They don't actually give us the tools. It's more like they're just rubbing it in our faces at this point. Like, there's nothing really hidden. There's nothing really hidden on this earth as far as information goes. Like, yeah, they can try to hide heretical texts and past events, right? But the truth always comes to light somehow, and you could just look at a certain order of events, studying the alternative history, studying alternative anything, and put all the pieces together, and then you can realize, like, holy shit, the mainstream narrative is just a lie. And what they're suppressing is actually the truth. But you don't need these guys to give you the keys. You can find the keys on your own.
Something I found extremely interesting is the concept of the Grand Age of Precession being split into 5,125 year cycles. 3,113 BC, the beginning of the current sub-age, was a time of great activity. Is the construction of stone monuments in Western Europe, the Middle East, and Egypt at this time related to the recognition of this cycle? What was the purpose of Britain's stone circles and Egypt's pyramids? Are they more than mere markers of an eon change? They must have had some enormous significance. Actually, something I'd most like to know is, were the builders of these monuments members of the enslaved masses who were trying to understand the nature of existence, or were the builders members of your elite bloodline? Yes, there is significance in these occurrences according to the space-time of their happenings. The group Soul Complex Ra was the architect of these structures. They were created from thought. When one understands and sees that all is illusion, or thought, one can use the force to manipulate the illusions. All things, seen and unseen, are interconnected life force energy. Once you know what the magician knows, it's not magic. It's a tool of creation. Thank you for your questions. They were very insightful.
I'd rather say that the way that they were able to construct these is that they had like a more well-rounded soul, in that they understood they understood down to a science how everything functioned, down to the highest astral realm and then to the lowest, grossest physical manifestations. They understood all that, and then they could also see with their third eye psychically the energy grids, and then use all that information of reality to build megaliths using psychic powers, because there's no way that they're picking up giant rocks. They were using mind powers to move those things. And basically their minds were so razor sharp that they could just envision geometric formations and then have it mimicked in the material realm from mind, from thought. They could transfer it back into the material world, which is how you can get almost like 3D copied megalithic Tartarian buildings that seem so fine carved. You feel like it would take decades to finish it, when it probably only took them a day to create the building in their time with their technology and their understanding of reality. I'm a firm believer in mind powers, and I believe that a lot of the megalithic structures that exist today, they were created through the use of these mind powers, which is why they are not able to be replicated today, because nobody understands or has the same capabilities of the mind powers today. And it's also in the collective consciousness as well that mind powers don't really exist. So overall, you know, if you're still connected to the agreements of the overall consciousness of humanity, then that's also going to affect how well you can use your own psychic powers, because since everybody else doesn't think that they exist, it's going to only get that much harder for you to use your own abilities. So it takes a lot of deprogramming on what the extent of your reality is and how far you can reach in order for you to start unlocking your abilities again. Because right now, you've decided to lock them down through lack of practice and accepting that the impossible is impossible.
It is your kind that has ruined the world, thinking of yourselves as higher than anyone. If I saw you in real life, it wouldn't be pretty.
Yes, they were part of ruining the world, because the fact that they perceive themselves as being fit to control others is what caused them to manifest and create tools towards a reality and take actions towards the goal of controlling. But if they had never had it within them to want to control in the first place, then this realm would still be opened to enter and leave as pleases, and there probably wouldn't be a virus in effect trying to pervert and manifest negativity in the realms for parasitic beings to come and feed off of us.
You lack understanding, not to mention eloquence. To understand higher, try thinking outside of the box for a moment. If I'm walking around on the ground and you are flying above me in an airplane, does that make you better than me? No, it just makes you higher. I will see you in hell. Well, be careful what you wish for. All thoughts and words are creative.
Wow, such a troll. So hilarious.
Thank you for your questions. I believe I have already dealt with many of them in my previous answers this session, though if you feel I've missed anything, please say.
So these beings, they realize that your thoughts create your reality and also decide where you go after your death. So if you spend your entire life building up this dreamscape or this realm, like say that you were born already having vivid dream experiences, You can craft your own separate realm within your own mind and then go there when you die in the astral realm. That's something that's absolutely possible, and that's something that people actually do. Like one of the rappers that I listen to, XXXTentacion, he created his own inner thought universe called Gekume, and then created a music video in order to get his fans to like he actually harvested the energy from his fans who watched the video and harvested the energy from all of his haters as well in order to fuel this thought matrix Gekume that he created, so that his followers, when they die, they can also go there to his realm. And I'm pretty sure he's having the time of his life in there right now, and probably preparing for the next step, which is leaving the Matrix. But right now, you know, bless his soul, it's sad that he died, but he's living his best life because he understood these principles, these esoteric principles, and he made use of them in the smartest ways possible by using his fan base
If Yahweh
in order to fuel his astral world that he created. And speaking of astral world, Travis Scott is also used his album to let me look at Astral. Let me show you Astral World for a second here. Hold on. Okay, so if you look here, right? This is Astral World. This is Travis Scott's imagined fantasy playground, right? In order to enter into Astral World, you have to go into Travis Scott's mouth. You're getting devoured by him in order to enter his realm. And I believe that's what the disaster that happened at his concert. He was basically allowing souls to be harvested to fuel his astral world universe that he created. Oh wow, there's a real one. Oh yeah, there's a real one, and you're also entering in his mouth over here too. I didn't even know if it was real. Astral World 2019. But yeah, that's why you're eerily walking into his mouth, because there's greater symbolism at work here.
is positive polarity entity, then how is he wrathful and jealous? Does Yahweh have free will? Would you like to think of yourself as reasonably positive? Can you still be wrathful and jealous at times? Is Yahweh a macrocosm of you? Have there been over time other entities pretending to be Yahweh? On occasion, yes. I would like to know, how do we choose a service to others, or positive path, over a service to self, the negative? Is this statement correct? In order to choose the positive path, at least 51% of our thoughts and actions must be dedicated to the service of others. For the negative path, it must be at least 95%, must be self-serving. Between the two lies the sinkhole of indifference. To be continued. Your statement is correct. Yes. So you see how hard we must strive for negativity? It takes a lot of effort to reach 95% negativity. Also, you may be surprised how many people on the planet are nowhere near reaching 51% positive.
I really don't like the mental gymnastics that they go through to justify shitty behavior towards other sentient conscious beings, because it just shows that they'll use. Okay, so basically, like, the person that asked the question, they asked something that was already incorrect and flawed in the first place, and the response that they got was basically them saying, oh yes, your incorrect view of things is correct, because they'll take any mental gymnastics that people will come up with for their own gain. Like say you died, right? And these beings came to you like, oh, we're your family. join us, and you're like, no, I don't want to join you. And then they come to you again with like another program, like, oh, this is Satan, come join me. You're like, no, I don't want that. No, I didn't do anything bad, even though you did do something bad. And then the next deity that comes is like an angel, and they're like, come, we welcome you into heaven. Like, they'll use whatever thought programs they can in order to get you to consent to a reality that is not actually yours, or anything that is beneficial to you. To do anything that they can in order to get your consent towards your own energy harvesting. So basically, them asking that question, they ask that question out of ignorance, and the person answered affirming that their ignorance is reality, affirming that the lie is the truth. So do anything. Like, these are the mental programs and the tricks that they use.
How do you choose a service to others path? Be good to yourself. Cultivate a genuine love for life and for being. Be genuinely thankful to the infinite creator every day for bringing you into being and for his bountiful provision. You have survived this far, have you not? You may not have everything you want, but you have everything you need in order to complete that which you were incarnated here to do. Give thanks for that. Show acknowledgement and gratitude to the infinite creator for all that it has done and for showing you. It has given you the gift of life experience and offered you the free will to decide what you will create with it. Guard your thoughts carefully, as they are more powerful than you may imagine.
These are the words that you'll get from not only, people who follow the Abrahamic religions, but you also get this from the light workers, like the Galactic Federation of Light. People like, oh, reality is so wonderful. This creation is so wonderful, but they ignore all the negativity within it. Basically, they're enamored by the wonders of creation and forget themselves that they don't actually belong here or are part of this place. Or maybe they are part of this place and they let the wonders of creation awe them because this is all they know, because they don't actually exist outside of the Matrix at all. That could be it too.
When you are coming from a place of love for and service to your creator, a life of service to others will become a natural outflowing from that. Always look for ways that you can be of assistance to your fellow beings. Being of encouragement to others. Build people up and do not put people down. Be a beacon of light in a dark world. Does that old lady need a hand with her shopping bags? How do you treat the homeless man who asks you for some spare change for the shelter? Ever hear about angels in disguise? Look and see the divine spark in the heart of all beings. Treat them as you would like to be treated yourself, and as you would your creator if he was speaking directly with you. For even as you are doing it to the least of these, you are doing it unto me. The law of radiation and attraction. Your thoughts, words, and actions return to you. Ultimately, cultivate a spirit of humble gratitude. You won't go wrong. You won't go far wrong with that.
So the reason why they're able to preach ideas of, remaining humble and helping your fellow man is because these ideas don't necessarily go against the Demiurge's plan. It doesn't help, but it also doesn't go against either. It's more like neutral. And they know that they can get the consent of others by playing to their ethos or their emotions, saying these things because they sound good, they sound good. But the rest of what they have to say is very parasitic and asking for your consent to stay in subservience to the Demiurge's plan, which is, in the long run, total annihilation of the spirit and anything sacred, and I'll even say free will, because free will is not a set of choices that you have to choose from. Every time they bring up free will, it has to do with like a small set of choices that you are forced to choose from. Free will has nothing to do with choices.
Desire to serve flows naturally from a grateful heart. If we live a service to others philosophy in order to achieve oneness with the infinite source, isn't that really service to self? How is the distinction of negative and positive polarity made? You do not serve others to achieve oneness with the infinite source. You serve others because you love them as yourself. Others are an extension of yourself. That's why the law of attraction works the way it does. Truly, whatever you are doing to me, you are doing to yourself. We are all one in the infinite creation. Separation is an illusion because you only see what is in the third density. You do not see the whole picture. We achieve oneness with the infinite source of all as a result of our upward spiral of progression. We are all on the path back to where we came from. We are all on our way back home.
Or perhaps you can direct your good energy back to good beings who don't seek to control others. Instead of seeing yourself as these fake spiritual beings as well and seeing them as an aspect of you, instead, I think that you should set them apart from you, because what they feed off of is your energy. And so if you implant in your mind that they are a part of you, then you are accepting that you are an energy parasitic being, just like they are. That's why I don't necessarily agree with all is mind and you are your neighbor, because that shit doesn't resonate with me, simply because the things that these people do is not something that is my natural prerogative or is my instinct. My instinct isn't to control and feed off of other beings and try to constrict them. That's their prerogative. So that obviously sets us apart from each other and shows that we are not the same beings. Definitely not.
It is my understanding that all souls must eventually choose the positive path to unite with the infinite creator. If this is true, what's the justification of choosing the negative path now for your people and us? An astute question. Yes, all souls eventually learn that positive is the pathway which leads home. But whilst incarnating in the third density, negativity is still an important tool in your learning process. It teaches you other than. As I said earlier, it is up to you how you use the tools that we have given to you. Do you respond to negativity with more negativity? Has fighting fire with fire ever worked for you? Or do you choose to see the negativity as the tool that it is, and recognize that it is offering you an opportunity?
Yeah, good and evil, they are tools. We are not good, we are not evil, we are a little bit of everything, just like the same way that we are not our emotions. The emotions themselves are also tools or frequencies, they're states of being. So like, you can borrow these tools or borrow these states, borrow these flows, and use them to your end goals, but you are not any of these things. A truly divine being knows that it cannot be labeled, because it is all of the above and none at the same time, and so much more. And anything that is undefined as well also makes up what the spirit is, because in essence the spirit is uncreated, and therefore it is in an everlasting state of eternal chaos from its lack of definition.
I will honor your free will to think and discover for yourself what that opportunity is. Or if the one infinite creator is love, does that mean it doesn't matter if we choose love of others or love of ourselves? Will either path lead us to the source? In a sense, you are correct to a certain point, but there is a big difference between loving yourself and being selfish. A big difference. When you truly understand what it is to know and love yourself, you cannot help but to love and serve others. There are no others. When you understand this at the core level of your being, you will be on the path home to the infinite creator and ultimately submergence back into the infinite oneness.
When they refer to infinite creator and infinite oneness, they are almost always referring to the demiurge. I believe that they see Yahweh as an aspect of the demiurge, which is why they don't see Yahweh as the most high God and considers it the god of the humans, or the Shatel, as you could say. Which is correct as far as the lore perspective goes, but Demiurge still created Saturn and these guys still serve Saturn. So like, also the way that the Demiurge manifests itself right now in this era is as Saturn Yahweh. So right now, you know, even though even though Saturn Yahweh El is an aspect of the Demiurge, it's still the Demiurge. So to them, that is the Most High God. It's derivative, but they're also one and the same at the same exact time.
I agree with many of your answers, which are very much in line with several sources that I've read in the past, including the channelings of Ra, the Cassiopeans, and several others. Can you explain your interpretation of such channelings if they are another source of disclosure from your people?
I don't trust channelings because you shouldn't be channeling any beings. Like, this is the realm of parasites, and the divine beings are very, very few, while the parasites are very, very many. And there are plenty of parasites and extraterrestrial races that exist in the astral realm that would love for you to try to communicate with them so that they could fill your mind with a bunch of programs and downloads and make you a conduit for their race, until ultimately you give up your soul to them on this assumption that you're working for love and light. They would love for you to become a conduit for them, which is why a bunch of people are into channeling, when in reality you shouldn't be channeling any type of spirits at all, because that is allowing you to become a link or a conduit for entities that do not have your best interests at heart.
I have spoken on Ra in my previous answers today. I have not heard of the Cassiopeans. There are no other communications from my family at this time than this one, though there is a possibility of another soon, depending upon certain events. My general view of channelings is that the majority of them are very poor quality. That is not necessarily a slight against those bringing them through, but more a matter of their lack of receptivity and subsequent distortions. It is very rare to find a good, stable, clear, and impartial channel. The key element in channeling is the ability to temporarily withdraw the filters on your own personal beliefs and to be a clear channel. To bring through what is actually given and not your slant on what you think it might mean. When I am saying you, I mean this in general term, of course, not you personally. Always remember that it's meant to be about the message, not the messenger. The Ra channelings are very accurate indeed. They are the only ones that I know of that I would happily classify as a clear message, though as I say, even then it's not 100%, more like 85 to 90%. Another difficult issue with channeling is that you can start off receiving a positive entity, and if you are not very perceptive in your discernment and careful in your protection when identifying an incoming channel, you can get a negative one that pretends to be positive, but gradually slips in more and more misinformation having gained your trust. The ones that give you precise dates and times are nearly always ones to avoid. Positive entities will not give a date and a time, negative ones will do, so they can set you up for a fall. Once you're tricked into predicting dates and times, and they don't happen, they've succeeded in putting out the light of your message, as no one will see any credibility in you. Well, now we know the point of this thread. Someone just discovered New Age theology, wanted to take time to type out his discovery. OP, still waiting for you to provide a prediction with the timeline. So far, all you've offered is general doom, which is what everyone in this site predicts every year. We need something specific, like next week. Of course, I know you won't provide anything. This is just a hoax. This will be the only time that I reply to you. At the outset of our discourse here, I made it expressly clear the way I am choosing to operate. If you do not like my choices, you have the free will to not read, or listen to, this disclosure. I would kindly suggest that you use it as your energy is feeling very frustrated and angry. That's not really an advisable direction that you want to be heading under the circumstances. As I took the time to explain to you before, I have nothing to prove to you. That is not why I came. Believe or do not believe, I am divinely indifferent. If my presence here ends up benefiting just one soul during the process, it will have been worth the effort. I have not asked you to believe.
Oh, but you guys are feeling pretty benefited right now.
The only thing I have respectfully asked is that you suspend judgment or hold a provisional faith until the discourse is complete, so that the flow of questions and information remains uninterrupted. You have shown me nothing but discourtesy and bad manners from the outset, and then wonder why I do not respond. If you do not like the topic, simply choose not to read or reply, and let those that do wish to participate with insightful questions do so uninterrupted.
It was a good question, though. He made a claim and then provided no evidence Like he's making a bunch of claims here and providing zero evidence, even though like yes, I can cross-reference it with other data and things that I have learned and things that I have experienced, and then things that, you know, when taking all the information together do make a lot of sense and have common sense to it. Still though, like, you have to provide some receipts. Otherwise, like, who are you going to prove anything to? A lot of people work off of like whoever delivers the information also has to be the one to provide proof for it. That's how the burden of proof works, and so far they haven't provided any real proofs for anything that they've said. Like, there's nothing that I can cross-reference this to as far as like names or dates or anything that they've mentioned at all, or events. So the person that was asking that question, it's kind of like what a lot of other people who are just as skeptical as me about them would have asked. I understand their question.
Your points. Number 1, New Age theology? That's amusing. You clearly have not the faintest comprehension of just how ancient and timeless these mysteries are. I find it ironic that your name has that you're a Mason. Well, if you ever make it to the 32nd degree, you're going to find yourself hearing these truths all over again. I hope that you will find it easier to integrate these truths then, and I ask our infinite creator to guide your path. Number 2, you will not be receiving any times or dates from me. I am not here to prove anything. I have no need to do so. Your disbelief is of no consequence to me, only to you. I am here to diligently discharge the duty given to me of delivering a message, and I will complete that duty regardless of your feelings about it. Number 3, as your point 2 regarding doom and gloom, that just serves to reveal your mindset. Where you see doom and gloom, I see opportunity. Life conforms to your ideas, the way it is for you. If you see doom and gloom, then that's what you're projecting. The world is your mirror. It reflects back to you what you are putting out. If you do not like the reflection life is showing you, then change what's causing it. You see, if this really existed, there would be countless thousands of people involved, and any one person could leak. Thousands? Try millions. And you have no possible comprehension of the rigorous training and the harshness of the conditioning that we undergo from an early age. No one dares to go against the family. We know what would happen if we did, but that's not the prime motivator. The motivator is unbridled loyalty to the family and our creator. We understand the importance of what we're doing here, even though most of humanity does not.
When you're a being that is motivated by your materialistic wealth and possessions, then you're not going to go against that, because if you lose that is all you are. When the stock market crashed in like the 1920s or the 1930s, there were a lot of rich people that committed suicide because they no longer had anything, because their entire definition of worth was based around their material wealth. Whereas the people who were poor and didn't really have a lot anyways, and were used to the hustle and bustle and struggle of life, they didn't choose suicide because they already knew poverty in the first place. So they just built from the ground up again. They just survived. But these people that are at the top, they don't know what survival means. All they know is programs. And you know, even though like we're being programmed, they're also being programmed as well. So it's like neither sides are free until you break away from all types of programming and choose to believe in yourself and only yourself. That's the way out. Again, you should also practice carrying consciousness into non-physical spheres through like lucid dreaming, astral projection, out of body, just so that you can better utilize your soul vehicle when your physical body passes away. Because if you never drive your soul vehicle, then once you enter that driver's seat, you might just crash yourself into one of those soul harvesting programs that are on the other side of the veil. But yeah, with that said, I'm gonna continue this.
Oopsie, you just shot yourself in the foot. For someone who only deals with manipulating the spiritual side of life, you sure do know a lot of things that have nothing to do with it. You just exposed yourself.
This guy said that Okay, so I believe in one of the past videos, he said that he studies 6 different schools of thought, and only one of them are the spiritual. So like, I don't know what this person hasn't been paying attention to the conversation.
Do you not sit down with your family and keep one another abreast of your plans? As to your remarks about my spiritual role, the ignorance you demonstrated is most humorous to us. If you think I only deal in spiritual, you have either not read or misread my posts. You also make the assumption that my role is manipulating the spiritual side of life. Again, you lack the understanding and then make false judgments about that which you have no comprehension of.
Yeah, the
You
guy
would do well to
that
stop
asked
trying to
that
be
question
clever and
was
instead channel all of
really,
this misplaced aggressive energy of yours
really
into something more
misinformed.
productive or nourishing for your soul. But don't let me stop you. You're contributing nicely to the overall negative polarity to the coming harvest. We are grateful to you. I will be spending the last few days of my time here, our discourse ends soon, focusing on responding to insightful questions with depth, which make the most of this opportunity for sharing information and making connections on a soul level of being. So, please, do not expect any further responses to your verbal jousting. I neither have sufficient time or inclination for engaging in insignificant banter. To those whose questions I have not yet had time to reply to, I will do so tomorrow. In the meantime, while I catch up, I respectfully ask if you will please hold off on further questions until I am up to date with the current ones. Thank you to those who have contributed to this discourse so far with meaningful questions. For those with an open mind, it is my hope that you will get something out of this information. To be continued.
Oh wow, we're actually done. Holy shit.
I'm wondering if you can help.
So, what soul qual? Yeah, I'll finish another episode of this later. This is gonna definitely be I believe number 2. I don't think I'm gonna need to splice this one. Yeah, I'll just end it here and go straight to uploading this, considering I don't have to clip anything or cut anything. Alright. I'm gonna do that now.